A tragedy that ignited the stars. The Galactic Council chamber, a grand room of towering pillars and gleaming metallic walls, echoed with tension as the young human boy knelt before his alien executioner. His small frame trembled, tears streaking his face, yet his gaze remained defiant even in the face of certain death. The Ithorian counselor Xanth presided over the trial, his cold, scaled features twisted into a smirk of satisfaction. For the crime of desecrating a sacred alien shrine, this human shall pay the ultimate price, Xanth declared. His voice carried an unyielding authority, but beneath it lurked a tone of condescension that made even the most indifferent council members uneasy. The executioner, an imposing alien with jagged armor and glowing red eyes, raised his disruptor pistol, the weapon humming ominously. The boy whimpered but refused to beg, his bravery a quiet testament to humanity's resilience. The disruptor fired with a shriek, and the child's life was extinguished in an instant. Silence followed, an eerie, unnatural stillness as the council chamber processed what had just occurred. Then Xanth, smug as ever, addressed the galaxy through the live broadcast. Let this be a lesson to humanity. Your disobedience will no longer be tolerated. From this moment forth, all human FTL travel is banned. You are confined to your solar system, where you belong. The Indomitable's bridge. Fury unleashed. Light years away, aboard the HSS Indomitable, Captain Logan Carter stood motionless on the command deck, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The holographic screen displayed the scene of the execution in real time, and the sound of the disruptor's blast echoed in his ears. Around him, the bridge crew froze in stunned silence, their expressions ranging from disbelief to fury. Logan's voice, hoarse with barely contained rage, finally broke the silence. They killed a child. A child. Commander Hawkins, his second in command, gripped the railing tightly, his face pale but resolute. "What are your orders, sir?" he asked, though the answer was already clear in the hardened set of Logan's jaw. Logan's eyes burned with cold fury as he turned to face his crew. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "Power up the Nova cannons and plot an FTL jump straight to the Galactic Council's headquarters." The crew sprang into action, their movements driven by a shared determination. Consoles lit up, commands were issued, and the hum of the ship's engines grew into a deep, resonant thrum. Humanity's wrath was about to be unleashed, and the galaxy would never be the same. Earth's hidden arsenal revealed. As preparations continued, Logan made his way to the heart of Earth's most guarded secret. Deep within the Rocky Mountains, hidden behind layers of camouflage and reinforced doors, lay the Sigma Fleet, humanity's ace in the hole. These warships, built in the shadows during humanity's early forays into space, had been designed as a last resort against the Galactic Council's inevitable betrayal. Logan and his senior officers marched down the dimly lit corridors of the underground base, their boots echoing against the cold concrete. The journey ended at an immense steel blast door, guarded by biometric locks and layers of reinforced security. Logan placed his hand on the scanner, and the door groaned open, revealing the fleet hidden within. Floodlights snapped on, illuminating rows upon rows of sleek, angular warships. Their iridescent hulls shimmered like oil on water, an alien alloy that defied conventional understanding. These ships had been designed to be faster, stronger, and deadlier than anything the Galactic Council could muster. Commander Hawkins stepped forward, awe evident on his face. "The Sigma Fleet. I thought it was just a myth." Logan's voice was firm, unwavering. "It's no myth, Commander. It's humanity's best-kept secret, and today it becomes our salvation." The calm before the storm. Logan addressed his officers, his tone resolute. "The Council has underestimated humanity for too long. They've oppressed us, stolen from us, and now they've murdered one of our own. This ends today. We will take the fight to their doorstep and show them what humanity is truly capable of." The officers exchanged determined nods, their resolve solidified. They knew the stakes. This was not just about revenge. It was about survival, freedom, and humanity's place among the stars. As Logan ascended the ramp into the lead ship, the Invictus, he turned back to his officers. Prepare the fleet. Today, we remind the galaxy that humanity bows to no one. The engines of the Sigma fleet roared to life, shaking the underground hangar as the ships began their ascent to the stars. Humanity's ancient fleet was on the move, and the galaxy would soon learn the price of underestimating Earth. A journey to the stars. The Sigma fleet, humanity's long-hidden weapon, ascended from its secretive hangar deep within the Rocky Mountains. Warships that had never seen battle now streaked toward the heavens, their hulls shimmering with an alien alloy that seemed to drink in the starlight. Captain Logan Carter stood at the command bridge of the lead ship, the HFY Invictus, his sharp eyes scanning the fleet formation on the tactical display. "Status report," Logan commanded. Commander Hawkins, his second-in-command, glanced at the holographic console. "All ships report full operational readiness, sir. Nova cannons charge. FTL drives spinning up. We're ready." Logan nodded. His voice carried the weight of centuries of human resilience. "This is the moment we've prepared for. Engage the FTL drive and set course for the Galactic Council's central system." Across the Sigma fleet, orders were relayed and acknowledged. The ships entered hyperspace in perfect synchronization, leaving Earth's orbit behind. They were no longer Earth's defense force. They were humanity's vanguard, delivering justice to those who had underestimated them. The Council's arrogance. Meanwhile, light years away, the Galactic Council's command center hummed with activity. Alien officers of various species bustled about, analyzing sensor data and coordinating routine patrols. Despite the recent execution of a human child, the atmosphere was far from tense. The Council's leaders believed humanity had been broken, confined to its solar system, and rendered incapable of retaliation. In the opulent quarters of Councilor Xanth, the Ithorian lounged on a gravity-defying divan, sipping a glowing green liquor. He smirked as he replayed the footage of the child's execution on a holoscreen. "Let them cry and rage," he muttered. "Humans are nothing more than an insignificant race of primitives." An air chime interrupted his gloating, and Xanth waved lazily at the holoscreen to answer. The face of his aide, Yik, appeared, his normally gray skin flushed an anxious violet. "Counselor, we've detected an anomaly," Yik stammered. "A fleet of unknown origin is heading directly for our system. Patrols have already been sent." Xanth rolled his eyes and sipped his drink. "Probably some backwater species trying to prove themselves. Our patrols will deal with it." But Yik's tone grew more urgent. "Sir, the patrols were destroyed. Instantly. We didn't even have time to get a visual on the attackers." The glass in Xanth's hand slipped and shattered on the floor. His confidence faltered as he turned to the tactical display in his quarters. Red blitz, hundreds of them, swarmed toward the Council's core system. Each represented a warship of unknown origin, moving with precision and speed unlike anything the Council had ever encountered. "Get me a visual," Xanth barked. The Sigma fleet's arrival. At the edge of the Council's core system, space seemed to ripple as the Sigma fleet emerged from hyperspace. The sudden appearance of Earth's warships sent shockwaves through the Council's defenses. The ships, sleek and angular, shimmered with an otherworldly sheen, their advanced cloaking systems deactivating to reveal their presence. The command deck of the Invictus buzzed with controlled activity. Logan Carter stood at the center, his expression unreadable as he observed the fleet's flawless formation on the main screen. "Broadcast a message to the Council's command center," he ordered. Within seconds, Xanth's face appeared on the holoscreen, his confident demeanor replaced with visible unease. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice trembling slightly. "What is the meaning of this incursion?" Logan's cold, unyielding gaze bored into Xanth. "I am Captain Logan Carter of Earth. You executed one of our children, an innocent life taken for your amusement. This is your reckoning." Before Xanth could respond, Logan continued, "You will resign your ban on human FTL travel and acknowledge our right to explore and expand among the stars. Any further aggression against humanity will be met with swift and devastating retaliation." Xanth's lips curled into a sneer, his pride overpowering his fear. "You dare to dictate terms to the Galactic Council? You're nothing but a single species. You can't hope to stand against us." Logan's expression remained impassive. "We'll see." The Council's first encounter with Earth's power. Xanth's transmission ended abruptly, and the Sigma fleet began its advance. The Council's defensive fleet, stationed at the outskirts of the core system, moved to intercept. Alien warships, massive and heavily armed, assembled into formations designed to overwhelm and intimidate. Yet, as the Sigma fleet approached, it became clear that this would not be a conventional battle. The first volley came from the Council's fleet, energy blasts and missiles streaking toward the Sigma ships. But Earth's vessels moved with impossible grace, evading the attacks with ease. The Invictus fired its Nova cannons, and 2 alien capital ships disintegrated in a blinding explosion. The human fleet pressed forward, unleashing a barrage of plasma beams and high-velocity projectiles. Council ships that had once been symbols of dominance were reduced to glowing wreckage, their advanced shields and hulls no match for the Sigma fleet's firepower. Inside the Invictus, Commander Hawkins marveled at the unfolding battle. "They're scattering, Captain. Their formations are collapsing." Logan's voice was steady, cold. "They underestimated us. Now, they pay the price." A glimpse of humanity's resolve. The Council's forces, accustomed to overwhelming their enemies, found themselves outmatched at every turn. Ships that tried to retreat were picked off with surgical precision. Those that stayed to fight were annihilated in seconds. The once mighty defenders of the Galactic Council were reduced to fragments drifting in the void. Logan stood at the center of the Invictus bridge, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. "Send another message to the Council. Inform them that this is only the beginning." As the Sigma fleet pushed deeper into the Council's territory, the galaxy began to witness a truth that had long been suppressed. Humanity was not a race to be subjugated. They were a force to be reckoned with, driven by resilience, ingenuity, and an unrelenting desire for justice. The Council's arrogance had awakened a sleeping giant, and now the galaxy would bear witness to humanity's rise. The calm before the storm. The Sigma fleet approached the heart of the Galactic Council's core system, its ships moving with deliberate precision. The alien worlds ahead glimmered with orbital installations and defensive platforms, each designed to repel lesser threats. This was no random incursion. It was the culmination of centuries of human ingenuity, hidden in plain sight. The fleet's sleek, angular warships glided silently through the void, their hulls reflecting faint starlight. Inside the HSS Invictus, Captain Logan Carter stood at the command bridge, his expression carved from stone. The bridge crew worked in tense silence, knowing they were on the cusp of a moment that would echo across the galaxy. On the main display, the Council's outer defense fleet came into view, a formidable armada of heavily armed ships bristling with weapons. Commander Hawkins leaned over the tactical console, his voice steady but low. "They've detected us, Captain. Long-range scans show they're assembling into attack formations." Logan's eyes remained fixed on the display. "Good. Let them think they're prepared." The Galactic Council's overconfidence. Within the Council's central command station, Councilor Xanth stared at the fleet display in disbelief. "How many ships are there?" he demanded, his voice tinged with frustration. "Yick," his aide responded nervously. "Hundreds, Councilor. Their configuration is unlike anything we've seen before. Their weapons, their technology, it's advanced, far beyond what we've encountered." Xanth's features darkened. Ridiculous. No single species could develop such capabilities without our knowledge. They must be bluffing. Order the fleet to engage immediately. Overwhelm them. The Council's defensive fleet began to move, forming an impenetrable wall between the human ships and the core system. Rows of alien warships, some the size of small moons, powered up their weapons. They believed themselves invincible, a belief reinforced by millennia of unchallenged dominance. The battle begins. The human fleet closed the distance without hesitation. The Council's ships opened fire first, unleashing a storm of plasma bolts, energy beams, and missile barrages. The void lit up with a dazzling spectacle of weapons fire streaking toward the Sigma fleet. But humanity's warships were prepared. The Sigma fleet moved with an elegance and precision that stunned even its own crew. Using predictive algorithms and advanced evasive maneuvers, the ships dodged the incoming fire with ease, their sleek hulls weaving through the chaos. For every 10 shots fired, not one found its mark. Then the Sigma fleet struck back. The Invictus unleashed its Nova cannons, firing beams of concentrated plasma that tore through the first line of the Council's fleet like a hot knife through butter. Ships erupted into fiery explosions, their shields useless against the raw power of humanity's advanced weaponry. "All ships, engage," Logan ordered, his voice carrying a calm authority. The Sigma fleet's coordinated assault was devastating. Railguns fired high-velocity projectiles that punched through multiple enemy ships in a single shot. Missiles, guided by AI systems, weaved around countermeasures and found their targets with unerring accuracy. Directed energy weapons sliced through alien hulls, leaving glowing scars in their wake. Within minutes, the Council's outer fleet was in disarray. Ships scattered, some attempting to retreat while others broke formation in desperation. The once dominant defenders of the Galactic Council were now a chaotic mess, their captains shouting contradictory orders over panicked comm channels. The turning point. On the bridge of the Invictus, Commander Hawkins watched the tactical display with a mix of awe and satisfaction. "Their fleet's collapsing, Captain. They can't keep up with us." Logan's expression remained unreadable. "This is just the beginning. The Council's arrogance has blinded them. They didn't think anyone could stand against them, and now they're paying the price." The bridge crew cheered as another enemy battleship was obliterated by a coordinated missile strike. Yet Logan remained focused, his mind already calculating the next steps. He knew the Council's true power lay not in their ships, but in their influence, their ability to rally other species to their cause. This victory would send a message, but it wouldn't end the fight. The Council's desperation. In the command center of the Council's flagship, panic reigned. Officers scrambled to make sense of the disaster unfolding before them. Xanth, his composure unraveling, barked orders at his subordinates. "Redirect all remaining ships to the core formation. Do not let them reach the central system." "But, Counselor," one officer stammered, "our ships can't regroup fast enough. Their fleet is too." "Do it," Xanth roared, slamming his clawed hand on the console. "We are the Galactic Council. We will not be humiliated by a primitive species." As the remnants of the Council's fleet tried to regroup, the Sigma fleet advanced, relentless and unstoppable. Human warships targeted key vessels with surgical precision, dismantling the enemy's command structure. One by one, the Council's capital ships fell, their hulking forms reduced to smoldering wreckage. A message to the galaxy. As the battle neared its conclusion, Logan stood at the center of the Invictus Bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. "Open a channel to the Council." The holoscreen flickered to life, and Counselor Xanth's face appeared, his arrogance replaced with barely concealed fear. "What do you want, human?" he demanded, though his voice lacked its usual conviction. Logan's gaze was ice-cold. "I want you to see the consequences of your actions. You murdered one of our children, and now you face humanity's wrath. Your fleet lies in ruins, your defenses shattered. This is the price of your arrogance." Xanth's lips trembled as he tried to maintain his composure. You won't get away with this. The Council will unite against you." Logan leaned forward, his voice low and commanding. "Let them try. Humanity will not bow to tyrants. This is your only warning. Surrender now, or face complete annihilation. The transmission ended, leaving Xanth staring at a blank screen. Around him, the bridge of the Council's flagship was silent, the crew too stunned to speak. For the first time in generations, the Galactic Council had been brought to its knees. The aftermath. As the Sigma fleet regrouped, the void around them was littered with the wreckage of the Council's fleet. On the Invictus, Logan addressed his officers. "This is only the beginning. They'll come for us, but we'll be ready. Humanity has proven its strength today, and the galaxy will never forget." The Sigma fleet powered up its engines, leaving the devastated battlefield behind. Humanity had sent its message. They would no longer be oppressed. This was not just a battle. It was the dawn of a new era, one where humanity would carve its place among the stars. Ghosts in the void. The Sigma fleet loomed near the heart of the Galactic Council's core system, its presence a terrifying shadow over the Council's remaining forces. The battle had already proven one thing. Humanity's technological prowess far surpassed the galaxy's expectations. Yet Captain Logan Carter knew that brute strength alone would not secure their victory. It was time to unveil the fleet's ultimate advantage, an innovation that would haunt the galaxy for generations. "Activate Ghost Protocol," Logan commanded, his voice calm but laced with finality. Across the Sigma fleet, stealth systems powered up. The angular warships shimmered as their advanced cloaking fields engaged, rendering them invisible to all known forms of detection. The fleet disappeared from both visual sight and sensor readings, leaving the Council's forces staring into an empty void. Inside the Galactic Council's flagship, Counselor Xanth's panic reached new heights. Where did they go? He barked, his claws gripping the edge of his command console. The screen before him showed nothing but static. Find them. They can't just vanish. His officers scrambled, their instruments futilely scanning for any trace of the human ships. But there was nothing. The Sigma fleet had become a ghostly predator, lurking unseen in the depths of space. The first phantom strike. The silence was broken by a sudden, deafening explosion. One of the Council's remaining capital ships erupted in a fiery bloom, its shields bypassed by weapons that seemed to strike from nowhere. The nearby vessels frantically searched for the source of the attack, but the Sigma fleet remained invisible, moving like wraiths through the darkness. On board the SS Invictus, Commander Hawkins observed the devastation with grim satisfaction. "They have no idea where we are," he remarked. "Their ships are firing blind." Logan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Good. Let them feel the fear they've sown across the galaxy for centuries. Today, the hunters become the hunted." The Sigma fleet continued its assault, each strike precise and devastating. Human railguns and plasma cannons tore through the Council's defenses with surgical efficiency. Missiles, guided by advanced AI systems, homed in on critical weak points, detonating with catastrophic force. The Council's ships, mighty and numerous, crumbled like sandcastles before the tide. The shattering of the Council's fleet. The Council's defensive formation collapsed under the relentless assault. Captains shouted contradictory orders, their voices rising in panic as they tried to coordinate a counterattack against an enemy they couldn't see. Ships collided in the chaos, their movements frantic and uncoordinated. What had once been an impenetrable barrier was now a scattered, disorganized mess. From the bridge of the Invictus, Logan watched the carnage unfold. The tactical display showed the Council's fleet as a sea of red icons, each representing a vessel. Slowly, methodically, those icons winked out one by one. "Target the command ship," Logan ordered. "End this." The Sigma fleet converged on the Council's flagship, its invisible warships closing in like predators circling wounded prey. The first salvo crippled the ship's engines, leaving it adrift and vulnerable. The second volley obliterated its shields, exposing the vessel's gleaming hull to the void. The final strike, a concentrated barrage of plasma beams, ripped through the ship's core, detonating its reactor in a blinding explosion. A message delivered. With the destruction of the flagship, the Council's fleet was leaderless. The remaining ships powered down their weapons, their captains recognizing the futility of further resistance. Across the Sigma fleet, cheers erupted as the Council's once mighty forces surrendered. Logan, however, remained stoic. He turned to Commander Hawkins. "Open a channel to the Council's surviving ships." The holoscreen flickered to life, displaying the faces of dozens of alien captains. Their expressions ranged from fear to resignation, their pride shattered by the events of the battle. "This is Captain Logan Carter of Earth," Logan began, his voice steady and commanding. "Your fleet is defeated. Your arrogance has brought you to this moment. Humanity will no longer bow to the Galactic Council's tyranny. From this day forward, we chart our own course among the stars." The captains exchanged uncertain glances, their silence an acknowledgement of humanity's victory. Logan's gaze hardened. "Inform your leaders. This is their only warning. If the Council attempts to retaliate, they will face annihilation. The age of oppression is over." The channel closed, and Logan turned to his crew. "Signal the fleet. Weapons tight. Let them retreat." The cost of arrogance. On the Council's core world, the surviving leaders gathered in a sprawling chamber, their ornate robes and gilded ornaments doing little to hide their fear. Holoscreens displayed the wreckage of their fleet, the remnants of their once dominant armada now drifting lifelessly in orbit. Xanth stood before the assembly, his usual confidence replaced with a trembling facade. "They've humiliated us," he admitted. "But we can rebuild. We can rally the other species against them." A voice from the crowd interrupted him. "And what if we can't? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Even united, we might not stand a chance." The chamber fell into uneasy silence as the gravity of the situation sank in. Humanity had shattered the Council's invincibility, exposing the frailty of their rule. For the first time in generations, the galaxy questioned the Council's ability to lead. The Sigma fleet's departure. The Sigma fleet regrouped at the edge of the system, its warships moving in perfect formation. On board the Invictus, Logan addressed his officers. "This is not the end," he said. "The Council will seek revenge. They'll gather their forces and strike back, harder than ever. We must be ready." Commander Hawkins nodded. "What's our next move, Captain?" Logan's eyes narrowed, his resolve unwavering. "We prepare. The Council's arrogance blinded them, but the galaxy is watching now. We'll find allies among those they've oppressed. Together, we'll ensure that humanity's rise is unstoppable." As the Sigma fleet jumped into hyperspace, the shattered remnants of the Galactic Council's fleet drifted in silence. The galaxy had been irrevocably changed, and humanity's message was clear. They would not be underestimated again. Seeking allies in the shadows. The Sigma fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Corax Nebula, a swirling expanse of blue and violet gases that concealed countless secrets. This region of space was home to the Voran, a proud and ancient warrior species now reduced to servitude under the Galactic Council's iron rule. For centuries, the Voran had been exploited for their strength and resilience, forced to labor in mines and factories, while their once mighty fleets rusted into obsolescence. Captain Logan Carter stood on the bridge of the HSS Invictus, staring at the nebula's mesmerizing colors on the main display. "What do we know about the Voran's current situation?" he asked. Commander Hawkins responded, reviewing the intelligence reports. "They've been subjugated for over 2 centuries, Captain. Their warriors are used as cannon fodder, and their leaders are puppets of the Council. But there are whispers of rebellion. If we can offer them hope, they might become valuable allies." Logan nodded. "Then let's give them that hope. Open a channel to their central outpost." The communication officer sent the signal, and moments later, the holographic image of a Voran leader appeared. His scales were a dark bronze, marred with scars that spoke of countless battles. His piercing yellow eyes narrowed as he scrutinized Logan. "I am General Raktor of the Voran," the alien rumbled, his deep voice filled with suspicion. "You are human, yet you come to our space with warships. Explain yourself." A proposition of freedom. Logan stood tall, his expression calm but resolute. "General Raktor, I am Captain Logan Carter of Earth. We come not as conquerors, but as liberators. The Council has oppressed your people for too long, just as they've tried to do with humanity. We've broken their fleet and shown the galaxy that they can be defeated. Now we offer you a chance to rise against them." Raktor's eyes narrowed further. "And why should we trust you? Humans are newcomers to the galaxy. What could you possibly offer us that the Council cannot take away?" In response, Logan gestured to the tactical officer, who played a recording of the Sigma fleet's victory over the Council's armada. The Voran leader watched in silence as the footage displayed the destruction of the Council's flagship and the retreat of their remaining ships. When the recording ended, Raktor's lips curled into what could only be described as a predatory smile. "You've shown strength," Raktor said, his tone shifting. "That is something the Voran respect. But strength alone does not build alliances. What do you want from us?" Logan leaned forward, his voice steady and commanding. "I want your people to join us. Together, we can dismantle the Council's grip on the galaxy. Not just for humanity, but for every species they've oppressed. This is more than an alliance. It's a chance to reclaim your honor and your freedom." Raktor considered the offer, his gaze unreadable. Then, slowly, he nodded. "You have my attention, human. But the Voran do not act on words alone. Show us that you mean what you say." Breaking the chains, Logan wasted no time. The Sigma fleet moved deeper into the nebula, where the Council's mining outposts were located. These installations, heavily fortified and guarded by Council warships, were the source of the Council's vast resources, mined by enslaved Voran workers under brutal conditions. The Invictus led the charge, its cloaking systems active as it approached the first outpost. The human ships decloaked in unison, their sudden appearance sending the Council's defensive forces into a frenzy. The battle was swift and decisive. Sigma fleet warships struck with pinpoint precision, disabling the Council's ships and orbital defenses before they could mount an effective counterattack. On the surface of the outpost, Voran workers stared in awe as the Council's overseers fled. Logan's voice echoed through their communication channels. "To the Voran people, the Council's rule here is over. Rise up and take back what is yours." The workers, long resigned to their servitude, erupted in cheers. Armed with tools and scavenged weapons, they stormed the Council's facilities, driving out the overseers and claiming the outpost for themselves. The sight of the Voran flag being raised over the installation was a moment that would be remembered for generations. A pact forged in blood. General Raktor stood before Logan on the bridge of the HSS Invictus, his scarred arms crossed over his broad chest. "You've delivered on your promise, Captain Carter. The Council's grip on our people has weakened, and the Voran see you as allies." Logan extended a hand. "Then let's make it official. Together, we can end the Council's tyranny once and for all." Raktor regarded the gesture for a moment before clasping Logan's hand in a firm grip. "The Voran will fight alongside you, human, and when we bring the Council to its knees, we will share in the victory." The room erupted in applause as the human and Voran officers celebrated the alliance. For the first time, the galaxy's oppressed had a glimmer of hope. A united front against the Council's tyranny. The dawn of resistance. As the Sigma fleet and Voran forces prepared for the next phase of their campaign, Logan addressed his crew. "This is more than a military alliance. It's the beginning of a movement. The Council has ruled through fear and oppression, but now we've shown that they can be defeated. Other species will follow." Commander Hawkins nodded. "We've sent a message, Captain. The galaxy knows humanity is no longer a spectator. We're a force to be reckoned with." Logan's gaze hardened. "This is only the beginning. The Council will retaliate, but we'll be ready. Together, with the Voran and others who join us, We'll reshape the galaxy. As the Sigma fleet departed the Corax Nebula, their ships now joined by Voran vessels, the galaxy braced for the next chapter. The resistance had begun, and the Galactic Council's days of unchecked power were numbered. The gathering storm. The combined forces of the Sigma fleet and the newly liberated Voran warships emerged from hyperspace at the outskirts of the Galactic Council's core system. The sight before them was breathtaking. A sprawling network of heavily populated worlds, orbiting starbases, and an immense defensive fleet. The Council's pride and dominance radiated from this heart of power, its vast armada arranged in an unbroken wall of firepower. On the bridge of the HSS Invictus, Captain Logan Carter surveyed the tactical display with a calculating gaze. Red blips covered the screen, representing the Council's defensive positions. They had anticipated retaliation, and their response was overwhelming. Commander Hawkins stood at Logan's side, his face grim. "They've mobilized everything they've got, Captain. This isn't just a defensive fleet. It's their entire military might." Logan nodded, his expression unreadable. "They're trying to make a statement. They want us to see their strength and back down. But we're not turning back. Today, we break their hold on the galaxy." He turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the fleet." The holoscreen lit up with the faces of human and Voran commanders, their expressions a mix of determination and tension. Logan's voice was steady as he addressed them. "This is it. The Galactic Council has gathered everything they have to stop us. They think their numbers will intimidate us, but they don't understand the strength of our resolve. We fight not just for humanity, not just for the Voran, but for every species they've oppressed. Today, we make history. Today, we free the galaxy." A chorus of acknowledgments echoed across the fleet. The engines of the combined armada roared to life, and the ships moved into formation. The final battle was about to begin. The Council's unyielding pride. Inside the Council's command center, chaos reigned. Officers of various alien species scrambled to coordinate their forces as alarm klaxons blared. Councilor Xanth, now stripped of his previous arrogance, paced nervously before the central tactical display. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. One of his aides, a diminutive alien with trembling hands, responded, "Hundreds, sir. The humans have brought the Voran with them. And their ships, their technology. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." Xanth slammed his fist on the console. "It doesn't matter. We are the Galactic Council. We cannot be defeated by a single species and their ragtag allies. Order the fleet to hold the line. We'll crush them with sheer numbers." The command center buzzed with activity as orders were relayed. The Council's fleet shifted into a massive defensive formation, their warships bristling with weapons. They were determined to make this their finest hour, to prove that their dominance was unshakable. The battle unfolds. The Sigma fleet and Voran forces surged forward, meeting the Council's armada in a collision of fire and fury. The void erupted with the light of plasma bolts, energy beams, and missile trails as both sides unleashed their full firepower. Human and Voran ships moved with precision and speed, their advanced technologies giving them a critical edge. Sigma fleet's cloaking systems allowed them to strike from unexpected angles, while the Voran's warrior spirit drove them to fearlessly engage the enemy at close range. The Council's forces fought back fiercely, their overwhelming numbers threatening to encircle the resistance fleet. Massive capital ships unleashed devastating barrages, their weapons tearing through smaller vessels. But the Sigma fleet had anticipated such tactics. "Deploy the countermeasure drones," Logan ordered. Small, agile drones swarmed out from the human ships, emitting electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the Council's targeting systems. Alien warships fired blindly, their shots missing by wide margins as the resistance pressed the advantage. Breaking the Council's line. The turning point came when the HSS Invictus and its escort ships broke through the Council's central formation. Using advanced weaponry, they targeted the fleet's command vessels, eliminating their ability to coordinate effectively. Inside the Invictus, Commander Hawkins called out updates. Their formation is collapsing, Captain. Their central command ship is disabled. Logan's voice was calm but firm. Good. Press the attack. Leave no room for recovery. The Voran warships capitalized on the chaos, their fierce warriors boarding enemy vessels and capturing them in brutal close-quarters combat. The Council's fleet, once a symbol of invincibility, now splintered into isolated groups, each struggling to fend off the relentless assault. A desperate gambit. In the Council's command center, Counselor Xanth watched in horror as the tactical display showed the collapse of their defenses. His hands trembled as he issued his final order. Activate the planetary defense grid. If we can't stop them in space, we'll obliterate them before they reach the surface. Massive orbital platforms surrounding the Council's homeworld powered up, their weapon systems aimed at the approaching fleet. Beams of destructive energy lanced through space, forcing the Sigma fleet to evade or risk annihilation. Logan assessed the new threat and quickly devised a countermeasure. Target those platforms. Focus all firepower on their energy cores. If we take them out, the grid collapses. The combined fleet shifted its focus, concentrating their attacks on the platforms. The battle became a race against time as the resistance fought to neutralize the defenses before suffering catastrophic losses. One by one, the platforms exploded in brilliant flashes, their debris scattering across the void. The planetary defense grid faltered, leaving the Council's homeworld exposed. The Council's surrender, with their fleet in ruins and their planetary defenses destroyed. The Galactic Council had no choice but to surrender. A transmission from Counselor Xanth appeared on the Invictus main screen. His face was pale, his arrogance replaced with desperation. Enough, Xanth cried. We yield. What are your demands? Logan stepped forward, his gaze cold and unyielding. You will rescind all oppressive laws, including the ban on human FTL travel. You will release all enslaved species and acknowledge their right to self-governance. Any attempt to retaliate will result in the complete destruction of your remaining forces. Do you understand? Xanth hesitated, but the weight of his failure was undeniable. I understand. Logan nodded. Good. Then let this be the end of it. Humanity seeks no conquest, only freedom. Remember this moment, Counselor. The galaxy has changed, and the age of your tyranny is over. The aftermath. As the Council's surrender was broadcast across the galaxy, oppressed species everywhere rose up against their rulers, inspired by humanity's victory. The Sigma fleet and its Voran allies returned to their respective worlds as heroes, their actions marking the beginning of a new era. On the bridge of the Invictus, Logan addressed his crew. We've won a great victory today, but this is only the start. The galaxy is watching, and we must lead by example. Together, we'll build a future where no one lives under fear. The Sigma fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving the shattered remnants of the Council's forces behind. Humanity had proven its strength, its resolve, and its place among the stars. A galaxy in shock. News of the Galactic Council's defeat rippled through the stars like a supernova, spreading to the farthest reaches of the known galaxy. For centuries, the Council had been an unshakable pillar of power, feared and respected in equal measure. Now the unthinkable had happened. A single species, aided by the Voran, and their indomitable spirit, had dismantled the Council's military might and forced its surrender. On countless worlds, oppressed species watched the broadcasts of the Sigma fleet's victory with awe and inspiration. For the first time, whispers of rebellion grew louder. The chains of oppression no longer seemed unbreakable. The once feared Galactic Council now appeared vulnerable, its invincibility shattered. On the bridge of the HSS Invictus, Captain Logan Carter stood before a holo-camera, his image projected to billions of viewers across the galaxy. The message he delivered was direct and unwavering. To all species who have lived under the shadow of the Galactic Council, hear me now. Humanity did not come to conquer, but to reclaim our freedom. We fight not for domination, but for a galaxy where every species can thrive without fear of oppression. His voice carried the weight of centuries of struggle, yet there was an undeniable hope in his tone. Today, the Council's tyranny ends, but this victory is not ours alone. It belongs to every species that dares to dream of freedom. Stand with us, and together, we will build a future where no one suffers beneath the yoke of tyranny. Celebration and uncertainty. Across Earth and Voran territories, celebrations erupted as the Allied fleets returned home. Crowds filled the streets of major cities, cheering the names of their heroes. On Earth, the once hidden Sigma fleet became a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. Its iridescent ships, once cloaked in secrecy, now soared above jubilant crowds as a testament to humanity's determination. In the Voran capital, General Raktor stood before his people, his powerful voice echoing through the Grand Assembly Hall. The Voran have been silent for too long. Today, we reclaim our honor, and tomorrow, we shape our destiny. We owe our allies, the humans, a debt of gratitude. But this fight is far from over. We stand ready to defend our newfound freedom. Despite the celebrations, Logan knew the road ahead would not be easy. The Council's surrender was only the first step. The remnants of its power would regroup, and other species might rise to challenge humanity's newfound influence. Logan's mind was already calculating the next moves, preparing for the inevitable backlash. The Council's reckoning. On the Galactic Council's homeworld, the once pristine chambers of power were in disarray. Zeth sat at the end of a long, battered table, flanked by the remaining council members. Their faces were pale, their confidence eroded. The council chamber, once a symbol of authority, now felt like a tomb. "We must rebuild," Zeth began, his voice hollow. "But we cannot do so under the illusion of our former power. The galaxy will not forgive us for what we've done." A murmur of agreement passed through the room. The Council's reputation was in tatters, and their former allies were now questioning their allegiance. For the first time, the Council found itself scrambling not to rule, but to survive. "We have no choice but to negotiate," Zeth continued. "If we don't, the galaxy will rise against us, and this time, there will be no fleet to defend us." A growing resistance. Logan's broadcast had done more than inspire. It had ignited rebellion. Across the galaxy, enslaved species rose against their oppressors. The sight of human and Voran ships toppling the Council's fleet had emboldened them to believe in their own strength. Factories halted production as workers struck back against their overseers. Colonies declared independence, their leaders demanding self-governance. The resistance quickly coalesced into a loose coalition, with the Sigma fleet and Voran warriors at its heart. Logan, reluctantly thrust into the role of a leader, began coordinating efforts to stabilize newly liberated territories. He knew that without careful planning, the chaos of rebellion could spiral into anarchy. Unity in the void. As the resistance expanded, Logan convened the first Galactic Liberation Council aboard the HSS Invictus. Representatives from humanity, the Voran, and other newly freed species gathered in the ship's massive conference hall. The air buzzed with tension and hope as leaders debated the next steps. "We cannot simply dismantle the council without a plan," General Raktor growled, his tone firm. "Without structure, the galaxy will fall into endless war." Logan nodded. "Agreed. We need to replace their tyranny with something better. A system that values freedom and cooperation, not fear and control." A young representative from a liberated mining colony spoke up, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We must ensure every species has a voice. If we fall into the same patterns of exclusion, we'll only repeat the mistakes of the past." Logan looked around the room, seeing the determination on every face. "Then let this be the start of something new. A coalition of equals, bound not by domination, but by the shared goal of peace and prosperity. Together, we can build a galaxy where everyone has the chance to thrive." A message of hope. The newly formed Galactic Liberation Council issued a declaration, broadcast across the stars. It promised freedom, equality, and the end of oppression. The message resonated with billions, inspiring hope in those who had long given up on the possibility of change. As Logan watched the broadcast from the bridge of the Invictus, Commander Hawkins approached him. "You've done it, Captain. The galaxy is changing, and it's because of you." Logan shook his head. "It's not about me. It's about all of us, every human, every foreign, every being who dared to stand up and say, 'No more.' This isn't the end. It's just the beginning." A new era. As the Sigma fleet moved to secure its next position, the galaxy held its breath. The Galactic Council's power had been broken, but the task of rebuilding had just begun. Logan knew that challenges lay ahead, new threats, unforeseen conflicts, and the ever-present danger of corruption. But for now, the galaxy had a chance, a sliver of hope that hadn't existed before. Humanity had risen from the shadows, proving their strength and their determination. The Sigma fleet's victory was more than a military triumph. It was a declaration that the oppressed could rise, that even the most powerful empires could fall. And as the stars watched, the galaxy began to dream of a brighter future.